Breaking SNAP benefits just days away from being suspended. Starting November 1st, those funds will be frozen due to the government shutdown.
You see, two federal judges ruled.
One ordering the Trump administration to release emergency funds to keep SNAP going.
President Trump responding, saying he's instructed administration lawyers to ask the court to clarify how to legally fund SNAP.
The Trump administration says it'll use a contingency fund to partially pay out SNAP benefits this month.
And we only have, I think it's $5.2 billion in the contingency fund.
The Secretary of Agriculture claims the government cannot redirect roughly $5 billion in emergency funds.
And by law, contingency fund can only flow when the underlying fund is flowing.
Is there anything you realistically see happening in the next 2 days to turn this around?
SNAP benefits will not be replenished by the federal government on November 1st.
It really kicked off when the grocery store closed on 23rd and MLK on the east side. So as we started trying to figure out how do we get that food to elders, we didn't know how to get in contact with them. They're not on social media. Didn't have mobile services in certain communities. In low income and high poverty communities, there was less technology. So there was an access gap because there was a communication gap. Apollo Woods, Executive Director of the Bigger Than Food Foundation and President of the Growing for Good Farm. This came from a place of experience, from my own experiences with not having food, remembering going to the rescue mission with my mom, and understanding that we were making it more about programs and processes and how do we get this into people. The mission of the Bigger Than Food Foundation is to inspire the built-in environment with economic development and cultural enterprise in both urban and rural community. We have a very particular passion to make sure we bypass all the bureaucracy. We have land that we owned, we have food that we can grow, so let us get this food directly into neighbors.
I am the former director of the Oklahoma City Black Chamber of Commerce. I think it brings us back to what used to be. I'm old enough to remember how neighbors shared whatever they had, and I'll give you an example. My daddy was a fisherman, and oftentimes he went where he wanted to fish trout, but he ended up getting a lot of catfish. Well, he didn't like catfish so much, so what he would do is share with the neighborhood. So it was the same way with vegetables, and not even ask for any compensation, but because they cared.
Not every person has the same experience in life. Our job is to create the community and the opportunity where you want to show up. And you choose for yourself. And through that, it's made this a process that we have something that is not innovative, but it's definitely people first. If you replace the word soil and you replace the word soil with people, before we do anything, we wanted to make sure that the soil was healthy. And this comes from what urban renewal did to our communities. Toxic air, polluted soil. And then In the last 5 years, people have encouraged folks in our communities to do garden beds or take these seeds and sow in the ground, but they never analyze soil health for the purpose of growing food. So you want our people to sow seeds in soil that you are not familiar with, but you also understand that this could have been exposed to a toxic environment and you want to grow. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know many things that grow out of toxic environments. So we have been committed in our research partnership with Langston University School of Agriculture and Applied Sciences, is helping us understand what this soil looked like. And here's what happened. We decided to get a soil analysis. The soil analysis came back so good that we don't have to put any chemicals in this soil for the next 3 years. So all we have to do is prioritize what we grow and how what we grow adds value back into the soil. So let's translate that back into people. If we make sure that people are good, they're going to produce more. So if we invest in the soil, in the environment in which this grows, you get more. So we can replicate that more. In every place we have this model, then every place you start to see a low-income community, you see opportunity. Every place you see black and brown people, you don't see black and brown people who are food insecure. You see black and brown people who work together to grow food. The reality is, it's only been a few months. It's been since June 3rd. The main thing we were committed to is no matter what, get this to people. I think it's important people realize that this is not a program that we've come up with. Growing up, my grandparents had a farm, had a garden in their backyard. To the right of my grandparents' house was my grandmother's first cousin. She had a garden in her backyard. Right in front of her was my grandfather's first cousin. He had a garden in their backyard. So as a kid, we didn't often go to the grocery store often because we had community. Here's the reality for us. We have people showing up to help us. I cannot tell you how many times when I tell people about what we're growing and their faces light up. So it's culturally relevant because it makes people happy. It's something that they haven't seen in a while, that they didn't have access to in grocery stores. Just imagine you live in a neighborhood with a grocery store and you have to ask the general manager, are you going to have collard greens or mustard greens or turnip greens or beets for the Thanksgiving season? You have to ask for it in your own neighborhood. A grocery store that's supposed to be designed for your benefit and community, and you have to ask for it. Gang at, okay. Y'all really came on time, early. Okay, thank y'all for coming. Give y'all a, you bring him? Oh, I thought y'all came with you. She came last time. Just give y'all a quick little rundown of what we're doing here. So my name is Apollo. I own the farm, Growing for Good Farm, and Mike. We grew up together in Duncan, born and raised together. He graduated a year before and I did. He owns the land. I own and operate the farm. So it's 13 acres. So here on the farm, we have it broke down in zones. So this is zone 1, which are all the mustard greens are, which y'all will be focused on today. Zone 2, we have garlic growing, but that garlic won't be able to be harvested until June of next year. So today, y'all be focused on this side. But notice there'll be kind of 2 different kinds of mustard greens you'll see out here. So if you've not had the curly leaf one, it's a bit more peppery flavor in that one. I like both of them, but that's just me. The stuff that's in between the rows, we're not watering it. It's just happening. Great soil. We don't have to put any chemicals or fertilizer in any of our soil, any of the plants. So it's all chemical free that we have out here. And so you can be in any of the rows, pick as much as you want. I just ask that you just pick the leaf. You don't pull them up out the ground, because we're trying to see if we can get a few more before it gets too cold, because I think starting tomorrow, it drops down like 29 degrees. Start wherever you want, get as much as you want, enjoy it, and I just thank y'all for coming out here and helping us out. No problem, no problem. biggest reactions that we've been getting when they're actually tasting the food from the garden or from the farm here or the garden in Oklahoma City is it tastes different than what they've received out of the store. This is what your food is supposed to taste like. This is what your connection to food is supposed to be. On top of, we're showing how the process started.
The greens were much cleaner than you'd get in the store. When I cooked them, they were very tender, easy to do. It was just kind of resonant of what it used to be when I was growing up. I think that this brings back to us caring not only about the food source and what it brings to us, but also about caring for each other.
We've forgotten about the elders in our society. You look at SNAP benefits being suspended. They're one of the populations that's affected the most because they depend on that extra income, those nutritional benefits, because they live on a fixed income. They may have limited income, limited mobility. So instead, let's grow things that are relevant to them that make them smile. So as you've seen today, you've had a lot of seniors come out today picking their own food, telling their own stories. So we believe that we can provide food to people who are leading the homes and relieving them of the pressure of feeling like that they are bearing a shame and a guilt for not being able to provide for themselves or their partner or their kids or the holidays. Now we're changing the atmosphere. In addition to the nutritional value of them knowing that they can get food that they know came from a garden, that reminds them of their mom and their dad, that reminds them of the small town they grew up, that reminds them of walking a mile to school. Those are good memories for them that keep them alive and happy. And that's what we see today. So that audience is important for us because we want to start for us. We want to start at the top or the people that have laid foundation for us to be able to be farmers. When you see that seal, you know these have a standard. We have growing food. It's naturally grown in this garden. This is our standard. No one else is creating a standard for us.
What I love about it, the relationship it has with Langston, the students, then you've got professors and kids that are learning about the soil, the richness of the soil, what's necessary to keep the soil whole, the ecosystem related to bees and the cows and all of those things that make the food nutritious and whole and healthy. And then when we ingest it, it makes us whole and healthy.
You know, this relationship with Langston is really important to me. You know, Langston's the only historically black college and university in Oklahoma. I'm also a graduate of HBCU, Texas Southern University in Houston. So it was by design that I wanted to have this relationship as black farmers with our HBCU. And, you know, seeing the students come out here and helping our intern, Neela, who's done a lot of the work out here. She's done about 85% of the work. Because there are things that we don't know. We're technically considered startup farmers. And although she is a graduating senior at Langston in the School of Agriculture and Applied Sciences, she has been invaluable to us. We couldn't get to the place we are right now as us being startup without having her out here.
Being here just kind of gives me that experience that I need in growing so that I can get a job in agriculture after graduation. Having the time to learn how to grow this and how to start things from seeds and germination and transplants and all of that, it just gives me the opportunity to expand my knowledge. I want to be an herbalist. After I get my bachelor's in herbal science, I'll get started on starting my own business. I'll be growing my own herbs. I'll have a little greenhouse growing my own herbs and using those herbs to create products that aids in my community's health issues.
They're just imagining, you know, the next generation of black farmers. You know, we have men and women out there helping us. Now, the part that they're doing is pulling up weeds, but everything they pull out is helping us get ready to feeding a family. And that connection is important. We're documenting that process. So here's the manual. If you do exactly what we did, you should be able to replicate the results that we got here, because we're going to teach you to start from the soil. So the goal for us is to inspire the built environment to make choices for themselves that no one else is taking away. I get to do something that I said that we couldn't do. So it starts with understanding that what we're creating here is because we believe we can do it. And in Oklahoma, it's possible.
Oh, for me, it's almost pure joy, because it's like seeing people out here and knowing what it's doing for us individually and collectively. And now the idea that my grandchildren can experience that, it's just phenomenal.
Because this came outside, you know, this a lot of soaking. You want to make sure all the bugs are gone. All of the bugs, all them little green worms, especially on them little French curly ones.
Yeah. Parboil them, like boil them a little bit, not all the way done. Freeze them. And then when you get ready to cook them, put your meat in there, let it stew down, get the juices and seasons, and put it.
I'm sure you can fit them. Yeah. I'm gonna be cool with that then. Let me see if I can get you some, Homer. And I'll get y'all a bucket, but y'all two can come with me.
Right there. That's 24 people.
That is good.
It is all the time. So ask that question again.
Okay. So when you were trying to figure out, give me some game. When you were trying to figure out how to buy the land, I know that there are land websites, land.com, Zillow now has them, all of that. But like, did you know the area and kind of scope out, okay, this land is for sale, or did you go the commercial?
I wasn't looking for a farm. I wasn't looking to do this, and I wasn't looking to do a farm.
What?
I was only looking to figure out, I wanted to do raised bed gardens. I wanted to figure out if that's something that we could do, because I wanted to do something for young professionals.
That's it.
That's it. And from that, exploring and trying to figure it out and not having the answer, Michael and I's mutual best friend that we grew up together in Duncan was talking to him about our garden. Mike and I had talked in a while, like just really inconsistent, but I mean, it's like we're friends, like, you know what I'm saying? And so he said, hey, I was talking to Mike. Mike is growing greens. And I was like, man, I owe him a phone call anyway. Called him. He said, yeah, I'm trying to grow greens, come out to the farm. Came out on June 3rd. So June 3rd is important. Came out on June 3rd. We were walking over there with his son, and his son was in the tray, was picking greens. He's out here having a good time. He said, I just want to do this. Well, I want to do this. I said, you want to work together? He said, yeah. We shook hands, and that was the extent of the conversation. This was before the agreement was signed with Langston. So it wasn't a promise that they were going to sign our partnership. But this is why this is so bigger than food, because if I didn't go do the things that I was drawn to do, the door and the opportunity would have never been open. I would have never been able to connect the dots on why 10 years of work when restaurants did the way that it did, and the failures and how I mishandled relationships and how people mishandled me, and being pissed off and upset and going through depression and wanting to quit and leave, and all that stuff would have led to the moment where my experience was in reverse. You don't become an entrepreneur without figuring out a plan. But December 26, 2018, God said, I'm not going back to work. And I was like, how? And then it got reaffirmed after that, every time after that. It wasn't my plan to do a lot of different things, but I tried them anyway, in spite of what people saying that, why are you doing this? And is there a real need to support Black-owned restaurants in Oklahoma? Or we don't have that many. To go backwards People typically start the other direction. But the only way this works is because it was obedience from 2015 in my apartment in Houston. In that conversation where God said, you're moving to Oklahoma. And I said, I'm not moving to Oklahoma. I literally said no. I got sick the same night. And I thought I was going to go to the emergency room. I'd never been sick before. In that dream, I remember saying yes in the dream. I woke up not sick. I don't remember much about the rest of that day. 4 months later, I'm moving to Oklahoma City. January 26, 2016. So when I left corporate America, didn't have a business plan. There was nobody I could talk to about OKC Black Eats. I had no example on what to do. It was just, you're going to do this, and you got to leave. And if you don't leave, I'm going to force you to leave. So I left, because I was being forced to leave. 1 month of savings, a little bit of 401k, and the people that helped me were my friends in my Leadership Oklahoma City class. So when people ask me, how did certain things start? I cannot tell any parts of the story without including what God told me to do. I cannot leave out parts of the story. On December 26, 2015, when I took an Uber to Topgolf in Oklahoma City. It was an eerie day. I was bored and tired and stressed out. I ordered a drink and didn't finish it. I don't never order a drink and not finish it. Got in the Uber. It was a tan Honda Accord. That didn't matter to me. Got in that pearl white Honda Accord with tan leather interior. That didn't matter to me. Nice car, I was trying to go home. Sat in the back seat. Uber driver was a white lady with a furry jacket on. Blonde hair, didn't care. Looked like a typical dressed white woman in Oklahoma. But she started asking me questions on that ride that only people knew were me and God. So I remember leaving that parking lot at Topgolf, turning on Memorial, near where Target is, and she asked me a question about my personal life, and I was like, you in my business. I thought this was a quiet ride. The next question that she would begin to ask me was, she said, you need someone in your life that's going to be powerful to help you. I was like, you're in my business. We turned the corner going to my house. I lived in Edmond, and it got really quiet. And I know when the presence of God is in my life. And I looked at my phone and I said, Holy Spirit, is that you? Didn't get an answer, because when I learned that just because there's not an answer does not mean that he's not answering. So by the time she got to the house, she was asking questions, and I knew there's something going on right now, because I had a prayer that morning that nobody else would have ever known. So she's driving, and the driving behavior of a driver is that if the driver, you can see their parts of their face in the rearview mirror. She's short, blonde hair, blondish eyebrows, whitish jacket, feathery. I couldn't see her eyes, I could only see this part of her head. And so she never turned where I could see her face. So I said, once we get into the driveway, I'm gonna see her face. Why? Because people typically turn to look at you. In the car, instead of driving directly into the driveway, she parks at a corner diagonal in the driveway. So as we park, I'm like, I'm gonna see her face. She only turns into a direction that I can only see the side of her face. And she says these words I'll never forget. She said, I'll never see you again, but you'll do great things in this world. I got out the car. I went inside. I smiled and I went to sleep. But more than that, the next morning, I looked at my Uber app because I wanted to see who was the driver. There was no record of a drive.
My God.
I can't leave this. I can't let this go. Even if I want to, I can't. Not having money, feeling like you're doing it by yourself. I can't not do this. This is my assignment that many people don't understand. And I'm not doing it for approval. I'm not doing it for the claps up in the stands. I'm doing it because when I'm done, I want God to be proud of me.